Okay, before we get started on today's painting, I wanted to show you yesterday's piece dried. Generally, if it doesn't change, I don't show it because it's just the way it was last time you saw it, just not as shiny because it's dry. But if something changes dramatically, I will definitely let you guys know. In other words, no news is good news. There's no shimmer. I mean, there's a little bit. I mean a little bit. It's really not picking up on the camera at all. So, what makes the satin enamel work? What makes it sell? I believe it's whatever makes it matte. Whatever gives that paint the matte property is what makes it sell. So when you add that to another paint, it turns that paint into a matte and it sells. You know, just if you look at my straight pour playlist, that gives a great explanation. Number 20 goes into the whole theory. And yeah, that's probably the best example of the amount of shimmer, which is not much. So, okay. I thought I'd let you guys know, and there you have it. The results. On to the next. Hey everybody, Gina DeLuca here. Alright, so I have my rainbow palette today, again, because I need to play with this as much as possible. I'm loving it. Colors. We're using Liquitex Basics today in Phthalo Green, Cadmium Red Deep Hue, Pthalo Blue, Cadmium Yellow Light Hue, Cadmium Yellow Deep Hue. So I have, today I did a little different. I mixed the light hue and the deep hue together. And the same with the orange. That was some of the light hue, some of the deep hue, and a touch of Cadmium Red Medium Hue. My background color and my base coat are going to be the Dioxazine Purple. There's no satin enamel added to that. So DecoArt Satin Enamel in pure white has been added to all of these colors, but not my darkest purple. Okay, so these paints are mixed. 1 part paint to 2 parts Floetrol. That's straight Floetrol. And then I add a touch, just a tiny bit, of the Liquitex Pouring Medium. And that is when I add just a little bit of the satin enamel. I wouldn't go more than 25% no matter what color we were using, because the stuff is very, very powerful. And I also find it's more likely to crack the more of it you use. Now, I only used a tiny bit in these colors. You can see they're still very vibrant, but you can definitely see the difference between the two. So this is the dioxazine with a bit of the white. It doesn't take much. That stuff is very powerful. It is a strong, strong cell maker. I am just checking, double checking my consistencies. You want to do that before you pour, always. It can thicken as it stands. So you want to make sure that your consistencies haven't changed. So the consistency that you're looking for when you drizzle your paint off the stick, it does not form a mound, it does not leave a trace, it just disappears, but it also doesn't sink. If it sinks, you may have gone too far. I mean, that's if you're holding it 1.5 inches, 2 inches off the cup, which would be a good height. If you hold it from way up high, of course, it's going to sink. Okay, let's put some paint in a cup. I'm actually, let's see. This is a 16 by 20 canvas. You would want between 11 and 12 ounces total. I am going to be using a base coat in purple, luckily. I'm going to lay down my base coat first. You want to lay down a base coat because it helps your paint slide around on your canvas and helps to keep your composition. Okay, I am going to put some paint in the cup. I will go in the same order that I've been going. I'm pouring heavy. I want it to sink, so I'm coming from up high, but in the same spot. Okay, I have about 7 ounces of paint in this cup. That should be just right. And it's already popping up, so let's get cracking. I was hoping that would sink more, so I'm not sure if what I had planned is going to work. All right, let me even this out a bit weight-wise. And pop some of these bubbles. I'm gonna let this sit for at least another 3 minutes. Okay, so this has been sitting for 3 minutes. You could let it sit longer. I worry when I use the Liquitex because it does set up quickly and I don't want my base coat to set. So I'm going to move this around a bit, just get these paints to stretch. But do so deliberately. Always remember to recenter your paint before changing directions. The more you stretch, the more cells you will get. That is how this technique works. These cells are caused by the Rayleigh-Taylor instability. Always pay attention to where the weight of your paint is. Right now, it's right here. And I can push this around and kinda make it do what I want. Kinda. And you are yelling at me saying, why are you dumping that off? The more you stretch, the more cells you get. There's still a good bit of paint on here, so I need to dump some of this off. You don't want it cracking on you. Okay, so I wanted to see what would happen if I did that in more of a ring pour fashion with all of those colors. Would I get mud? What would the cells look like? So I think I have kind of answered that question. Sort of. Semi-ring pour. But I also wanted to leave space in between the rings, which is why I kind of did some rings and let it pour and did some rings and let it pour. So I would have these darker areas where cells would pop up on their own, not part of the actual ring. So I'm gonna let this sit and see what happens. Back in a few. Okay, here it is. It's been sitting for a while. The edges have started to dry. There is a bit more mud action than I usually get in a straight pour. Is this because I did it in a ring? Or is it because I poured from up high and there was more mixing in the cup? So, my silliness, I changed two things. That is not how you conduct an experiment. You change one thing. So, I will try this again, but with layers to see if that gives me a different effect. And so I'm not abandoning the idea. I will see if I can perfect it. Oh, those telemarketers. Okay. So I will try it again. Believe it or not, even though there is mud in this painting, like in person, the bright colors are still bright enough that it still looks pretty cool. So there it is. Well, I hope you learned something. I hope you learned that you're only supposed to change one thing at a time. But there it is. Definitely more mud than, ooh, look at that section there. Ooh, boo. But there it is. So do check out the description box below for links to my PayPal tip jar if you feel so inclined. If you want to help me stay stocked up in paints because you find these tutorials helpful, or at least entertaining, that's a great way to do it. Also, my Amazon link is in the description box. If you enter through that link, anything that you purchase off the entire site of Amazon, I make a small commission of at no additional cost to you. Also, in the description box, you will find my website, GinaDeLuca.net. That is where you can purchase my art and my music. And last but not least, our group, Go Make Some Art. Join us over there on Facebook. Post your masterpieces. Ask your questions. And maybe just get some inspiration. Okay. That's it for me, you guys. I hope you have a beautiful day. Now go make some art.